Batman Urban Legends, issue 14. Matt read this.
Yep. So, speed round. Here we go. So the first story is the Batman Zatanna Constantine, and basically these beings are they're creatures throughout time, and they come right as the civilization's getting ready to fall. So like they corrupted Nero and helped led to the fall of Rome, and that by Zatanna and Bruce doing their little ritual, they trying to get back through this issue. They were freed again, and they're looking for these forms that can be, that'll give them the most freedom. And so Bruce realizes that you can't fight them. So he basically, from the time that, where's it at? One of them says that, I'll for that again, that they're just delaying the inevitable. They don't even know where the lock is to insert the key. So basically, Bruce sacrifices himself and gets sent to a realm like Constantine did, which is like this, they call it the in-between. He ends up there. He's in the shade of Seneca Village, where he meets Constantine and the dog that got consumed earlier, and that the key is somewhere there. So now him and Constantine have to find this while Zatanna keeps the two beings at bay as she's fading in and out of reality, which is cool because the art, makes her transparent and see-through. We also get that the last time these two beings were around was in Point Pleasant, West Virginia in '67, which does make them the Mothman creatures. And we see the Dr. Fate of that time basically destroying the bridge, which is this famous bridge collapse that happened back then. So I thought that was pretty cool. But that was at that same time we see when they got banished by Fate, we see Bruce and Zatanna running through that forest from the first issue. The beings infected, or at least one of the beings infected the Scramma that was taking her daughter about. So it shows how it's tied to what they had done. But yeah, so Zatanna has to, keep them occupied while Bruce and Constantine figure out where to put this. And it ends with Bruce being able to see the world through the most recent host. And yeah, this one was called Bandor Will. The art by Nicola, Chemeshia is really the highlight.
I was going to be a dick and say Scott, Matt. It's pronounced Scott.
No, it's not Nicola Scott, because I would have been going leaps and bounds over. But it's a very interesting story, which is, seeing the whole Mothman and how magic works. I'm reading Department of Truth right now too, and I just got to how the one guy in the Department of Truth explains how magic works. So I just think it's funny. Yeah, I think it's funny how reading that with this around the same time, and they're using essentially the same, the whole idea of symbols, and symbols equal magic, and if you can read the symbols, you're a magician. How all of this works with that, it's real fun. But yeah, the second story is a question story called Right Answer Wrong Question, and this is the Question operating in Gotham. He's investigating Bruce Wayne because there's stuff going on at Wayne Enterprises that's not lining up, and that Bruce Wayne has to be in on it because he oversees everything, which, Batman he goes onto this case with Vic to find out everything, and that in it, as they're investigating it, the Question, tells him that, or Bruce tells the Question that he's going off the wrong way. He's like, how do you know? and he reveals himself to be Bruce, which he tells him it all checks out because if you're paying attention, you know, you would notice that Bruce Wayne is tied intricately to Bruce Wayne, or Bruce Wayne's tied to Batman, and that he's been asking the wrong question. So it ends with him writing in the notebook that he had suspicions that Batman's Bruce Wayne, but also that he can be trusted and that Batman is exactly who you think that he is. And there's through lines of like what makes a conspiracy and what you got to know the questions to find out the mystery and whatnot. And it was okay. It just only feels like it might have been better somewhere else instead of Urban Legends, just because it kind of felt like a filler, I guess. But it's always cool to see the question, right? The third story is called Memory Lane, and it's the new Birds of Prey. I didn't like this that much. This involves Shiva and Katana and getting someone named Ghost. And this all feels familiar, which I can't quite put a finger on it. But basically Shiva is trying to, there's this app that lets you relive your memories in like kind of what I would assume is like danger room technology. It make sure your memories come to life, and that Shiva. I'm trying to find the thread on this. That Shiva wants to figure out how they got this technology to work because it shouldn't exist, and because it involves a person that where's he at? It involves a guy that can pull your dreams and your memories out and make them come to life, and that that person shouldn't exist anymore. They got put into Arkham so long ago. It's weird Shiva trying to take the lead here, and a lot of it is Shiva and Katana butting heads. They recruit Miracle Molly because with her stuff with the Insanity Collective, with the key through the technology, they can end up doing this. But as they get close to this house that's in Gotham City Park, it looks like this old shack, but judging off of the the maps of the area, it's a lot bigger. So something's not afoot, but Shiva gets attacked by what looks like the memory of Cassandra, but only she can see her. So it's this Batgirl Shiva kind of fight scene where Batgirl, puts her down, which then angers Shiva. So they go into this house where this character that can bring your memories back to life is sitting, and that's where it ends. I don't know why they call this Birds of Prey. Do you guys remember the Shiva and Birds of Prey thread coming?
I remember them announcing it. I don't know if I remember.
Yeah, I remember this being in the solicits. I don't remember anything past that.
Gotcha. But yeah, just Shiva and Katana, I like that dynamic, but I wouldn't call this a Birds of Prey, right? Because I feel like to be birds, you need at least Huntress or Canary or Babs.
If I remember rightly, Katana was in the New 52 Birds of Prey, just for a strenuous connection.
Yeah, but and they're investigating stuff.
Well,
and
at that point, it's closer to an outsiders team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
Shiva was a pretty typical Birds of Prey villain, right?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the one tie, and I get having like an all-lady team, but that doesn't necessarily make it Birds of Prey. Like, this is just a all-ladies outsiders team more than birds. But yeah, just overall, the story was fine. It's like, we've seen this kind of stuff before, the stuff with the memories and it being weaponized and, but then we get to the main event, which is the one story that I keep reading Urban Legends for, and this is the Mark Russell, Carl Mostert Ace story. And it starts off with two of the guys that work for the Russians. They're in a warehouse district and talking about how Gotham started as a port town, and that, the whole reason that the criminal element might exist in Gotham now is because of these warehouses. Just because of, at these port towns, you need somewhere to keep all the stuff and when people know where you keep the stuff, that allows all the crime to come up, and it's just basically, Gotham was always meant to be this. And so it goes in with that theme that, like, Ace was brought up to be this mean attack dog, and that's all he's meant to be. So of course these guys believe that was all Gotham was meant to be. That Batman and the Bat family are having this losing fight. But they bring Batman in to the auction, and you see in this auction house, in this warehouse, there's a cage fight going on between two people, and just like basically most villains in Gotham you could think of are here. You got Riddler and Two-Face, and I can see Atomic Skull, Mr. Freeze, Bane, Kite Man, who talks about him not being able to have his kite. He feels naked without it. Calendar Man, Croc, Penguin, Bane commenting on the fight that's going on, where it looks like one guy has a knife and another has a pipe. And he's like, "Oh, lead pipes reminds me of Pinadora," and back in the club, they're not the super pets, but they're super pet adjacent. I guess this would be Ace's outsiders. They're looking for Batman, and they find Ace's his harness that he wears. It has like all the utility stuff on it, and they find the bear's collar, which reminds her of one of her last jobs, where the villain made her attack someone that owed him money. But there's also this he talks about why bears are the symbol of Russia and whatnot, and that he talks about that bears were the symbol of this Greece, of this small town in Siberia, but at the end of the day it was just pig fat, and that by putting a bear on it, it made them feel bigger than they were, and they were able to turn that into their strength, which again is this whole thing of who you really are, and if you can change or not. The Ace's outsiders steal some pizza from these two henchmen. That's real funny. And then the main bad guy shows up, Mr. Tarkov. They have Batman in between two electromagnets to make sure that there's no more funny business. Because, when they try to, pull off his mask, he had the gas and the electricity hit. And that, now that he doesn't want Batman to struggle anymore, because whoever he sells him to, I'm sure is going to want that more. They go to do the auction, and all the villains are there. Riddler wants to know, he has a riddle for the auctioneer, what kind of auction house doesn't serve sandwiches? So again, it's some more of that Mark Russell livening the mood. In that the Mr. Tarkov brings up that how life is like a casino, and because everything's a gamble in life, and that the only thing that's true is there can only be one winner. And that he brings up how the two guys that are fighting because he takes money off of their debt. But one of the guys asked him, well, how much does the other guy owe? Has anyone ever gotten out of debt by this fight? He goes, oh yeah, the guy with the pipe, he's been in here 3 times, but he gets addicted to winning. As this is going on, the Aces Outsider group realize that Bruce isn't there, and so they get attacked by some of the henchmen. They're gonna trank Ace in the turtle that they were trying to get into the Speed Force. He takes a bullet off of his shell, not a bullet, but like a trank for Ace, which then gets him to tap into the Speed Force. And so you have this turtle that starts coming up on the henchmen, and he takes them out. Ace gets attacked by Lex Luthor, Lex's dog, that went back. But then the bear intervenes, and she ends up sacrificing herself so the rest of the Ace's team can get out. So she gets trained and gets taken back in the van, and then they get to Bruce, and they're talking about how this old story from Russia that the king was super sick, but the only thing that save him was the Happy Man's shirt. So they scoured the entire kingdom, and when the knight heard laughing from this hut, they found the one guy that was happy, but he didn't own a shirt because he was so poor. So all was lost, all bedridden old kings wishing only to be cured, but there is no cure. And so it's this kind of very Russian story of that's very desolate. So the squirrel, Ace, the turtle, and the chicken, the robo chicken. Ace is sending out a howl as the bear is taken away, but the squirrel stole from the henchmen their wallet, and so they find that where they're going is the Gotham Toxic storage. So this was part 4 of 6, and the next tease is the puppy and the Joker. So I'm sure we're gonna get Ace's entire origin, and I'm sure it's going to break me. But I hope this story gets put out in a trade just by itself, because I feel this is something that everyone should be reading right now. It's really one of my favorite Mark Russell things he's ever done. And just, it's basically a story of perseverance and trust, and that Bruce put trust in this dog that no one else would have. And now it's going to be, him teaching these other animals that shouldn't trust humans, that they're not all bad, and that they have each other. It's really heartwarming, despite having these really dark and, desolate moments. But yeah, so that story is like an 8.5 out of 10, but the rest, I can't. So I guess as a whole, I'd give the book a 6.5. But really, that last story is doing a lot of the heavy lifting.